church. I always want to say that. So, my name is Jarodd Hundley, and I am a third-year PhD student at the University of Louisiana at Monroe. And I will be talking about opioid usage in the United States. I did a binary logistic regression regarding gender and racial minorities. So, SAMHSA found that non-medical use of prescription opioids is the second most used illegal drug among young adults, second to marijuana. So young adults means age 18 to 22. So that age group is identified by SAMHSA as the primary age group of first use, misuse, and well, mostly because that they go to college, they get peer pressure to use, and often they're dealing with depression, being away from home, different things like that. Which leads to my next point right here. More than half of drug-associated suicide attempts reported in emergency rooms are due to misuse of prescription pain medication. So I'll give you a little bit of background about opioids. So in the 1980s, opioids were being, overprescribed by physicians due to acute pain, and then we moved down to the 1990s, a higher demand by patients who had chronic pain. They were seeking more painkillers for their pain because they felt like acute pain is not as much, they're not in as much trouble as I am with chronic pain. So please prescribe me more meds, right? So physicians, they honored the request, and then you see insurance companies, they stopped offering money for behavioral therapy, which is CBT, and hypnosis. So now you see pharmaceutical companies see this is our opportunity right here. So let's jump in with new innovative pain meds, let's corner the market, let's flood the market with commercials, etc. So now we fast forward to 2010. And now we have heroin and fentanyl overdoses have tripled. So now we're in 2018. So now it's an emergency. So I heard Evan say before that, hey, it's been a problem, but now it's an emergency. So people always wonder, what are opioids? So these are some of the most common right here: codeine, heroin, Demerol, morphine, Oxycontin, fentanyl. With fentanyl being one of the worst right now because the DEA says that they cannot track it, and it's coming over from China and Mexico. So previous research has focused more on binge drinking and marijuana usage by white males in colleges, etc., during that age group of 18 to 22. Minorities have always been like a small sample size in their research and has not been focused on. I found one JMFT article about opioid treatment, which was conducted in Spain. They use multi-family therapy, which is individual therapy, family therapy, and group therapy with a reflective team. And they were successful in their treatment results, but it is in Spain, and this research project is about the U.S. But there is a lot that we can learn from it. So suicide ideation for minority opioid users has not really been researched as well, along with mental health treatment as well. So this all aligns with, gotta put SAMHSA in there, baby. So this aligns with prevention of minority opioid usage, and to prevent, we first must identify. So my research question is opioid use different for minorities based on race and gender? So my hypothesis is opioid use will be different for minorities based on race and gender. So these are my participants. So like Carmen, I used the Ad Health data. I used primarily Wave 3, which had 4,882 minority opioid users. Ages, let me focus on that too. Ages 18 to 26, because I kind of wanted to align with what SAMHSA has already done before. So I performed a binary logistic regression, which is my deep end variable, with mental health, suicide ideation, gender, and race as my predictive variables. And they all were dichotomous, meaning yes and no, yes or no, I'm sorry. These are my variable questions. So have you received mental health treatment in the past 12 months? Have you seriously thought about ending your own life in the past 12 months, etc.? So what does all these numbers mean? So 56% of minority opioid users are currently using opioids in mental health while receiving mental health treatment. So an explanation for that could be that why do substance abusers come to treatment? To get off, right? So I'm in treatment. Here I am. So we have suicide ideation. We found that a 2.36-fold increase, meaning that there's a huge amount of minority opioid users who have thought about ending their own life in the past year, which is extremely important for us as MFTs, right? Because we don't want to see anyone commit suicide. So if you're thinking, man, if I have a client that comes in and they're a minority opioid user, you might want to assess ASAP. Let's see, we have African Americans. So African Americans have a 30% less chance of using opioids than any other racial group. So we have Native Americans, Asian Pacific Islanders, and Latinx. There was nothing really statistically significant about that. We have males, not anything statistically significant about that, but minority males do have a 12% more chance of using than minority females. So I put this in the discussion section so you can have it in your PowerPoints, kind of laid it out for you right here. But opioid use is different for minorities based on race and gender. So future research. So in my future research, I want to include more predictive variables such as SES, depression, relationship status, and U.S. veterans, because that's one of my interests, such as PTSD, which is why I was like, I got to talk to you. So some of the limitations, this is secondary data. The answers were self-reported. This wasn't primarily used to measure opioid usage by minorities, and the data is 10 years old. It's my references. And I put this picture here to show that it actually does snow in Louisiana. So any questions?